Alrighty, folks, welcome to another BTN podcast. This is exciting. I've been excited for this one. You set this up, so if you want to give a wee introduction.
Yeah, well, Marcia could do it.
Okay, well, we can let Marcia do it.
We can introduce... This week, we have Marcia Moran. Is it Moran?
Moran.
Right, okay. Wrong way around.
It's the Scottish accent.
Yes.
We make everything sound different. Wrong, possibly.
Yeah. So, would you like to explain what you do and why you're here?
Well, I think I'm here because I had a stroke in 2014.
Yes.
And before the stroke, I had my own business. And I had a stroke in the middle of the night. When I woke up, my business was gone because I couldn't talk or walk or even speak anymore.
Mm-hmm. And people will notice, as you have been speaking there, that you can speak now.
Yes.
Which is fantastic. So if we go back right to the beginning, if we talk about your background and sort of what you were doing business-wise beforehand, you want to talk about your business, and then we could carry on the story from there.
So, okay, I was actually in business for myself, and I just did marketing for people. So essentially, a client would come to me, and I would look at the stuff that we were doing, and I'd say, that doesn't look like who you really are. You're really doing this. Let's change your focus to focus on this particular thing that you're doing. And I'd been in business for 3 years, and the business had gotten to the point where I was going to make the kind of money I think I wanted to make.
Awesome. Yes.
So I was really happy. And then, boom.
So what was it you were doing?
So marketing, they'd have a website maybe, mm-hmm. and it would tell the people they were doing this type of business, but they really weren't. So I don't know about how things were in Scotland, but in America, a lot of companies tell you, I'm going to do business this way, and they do something completely different.
Yeah.
And so I was making those two things mesh up so that they were actually one thing.
Okay, so if you're wondering why I asked the question again, it was just to double check. Really, it was because so you were basically just doing your best to help other businesses that were not doing a great job, really, to start off with marketing, really.
Yeah.
Basically,
exactly.
That's it. It was
just I was confused about why you asked that question.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I just wanted to double check.
So you said that after you had the stroke, your business, I can't remember the word, failed. Because why was that? Was that because you weren't able to speak anymore?
So the day I had the stroke, I woke up and I felt really funny. Mm. And I was scheduled to do breakfast with a friend. And so I texted her to tell her that I wasn't going to make it. Mm-hmm. And when I got done texting her, I said, that's funny, I can't read this. Well, I'll just text her later. I put the phone down, I rolled over, and got the most incredible headache imaginable. And despite the pain, I fell asleep. The next time I woke up, I was paralyzed on the right-hand side from the top of my head to the tip of my toes. And I knew that if I didn't get help, I might not get up at all. I actually...
That's okay, carry on, sorry.
So I actually rolled out of bed and dragged myself along the floor and out into the hallway and ran out of gas. So it was Sunday, and my husband was home. He was downstairs listening to the TV. And I knew he'd come up at some point.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was, but something fell down and it went crash. And it got his attention, and he came upstairs and he saw me. He said, "Marcia, are you okay?" And that's the point where I realized I actually couldn't speak.
Right.
And he said, "I'm going to call 911." And he did. And it took about 5 to 10 minutes for the paramedics to arrive. And the paramedics came through the door, and they asked him when I'd had the stroke. And that was the first time anyone even thought of the word stroke.
Yeah. So had you had any like sort of previous knowledge that this may have come up? Because I'd known really very little about stroke. So did you have any knowledge of this at all?
No. So I ran 3 or 4 times a week.
Yeah.
I had normal cholesterol. This took me totally by surprise.
Mm-hmm.
This is what scares me about this.
Exactly, yes.
So you've been looking forward to this. This subject gives me tremendous anxiety. So things like strokes, heart attacks, and I think it's brain aneurysms.
All these things.
There was a politician in Scotland who just one day had something in her brain happen, and suddenly she was in a 6-month coma, needed multiple surgeries, and she had no idea this could ever happen. And that stuff terrifies me to no end.
Well, this is, and again, you've put it forward like I'm an absolute psychopath.
Yes.
But the thing that fascinates me is just the absolute shock value of the fact that from nowhere, and again, you've lived a healthy life, that, again, just even knowing that you've lived a healthy life and stuff like that, you've actively tried to avoid anything happening like this. And it's just out of nowhere clicked into this crazy situation. So that's the side of things that absolutely like kind of terrify me. But like also, I like to find out about. So you explained like just a sort of sore head to start with, and then you went to sleep. Did it like knock you out in some way, or did you just like feel like you wanted to go to sleep?
So I had normal sleep. When I went to sleep, it was just normal. When I woke up, I felt odd, but it wasn't really all that weird in the beginning. Mm-hmm. The second time I woke up is when I knew that I was in real trouble. So there's a little bit. So if people understand that there's the FACE method, so I'm sorry, it's not FACE method. So if I realized when I was reading my text to my friend that being able to read something is okay, but being unable to read is a sign of stroke.
Yeah.
That's where I went wrong. Mm-hmm. So after I got out of the hospital, I started understanding more and more about strokes, and I realized that you can have a stroke at any age, and that point actually scares me.
Yeah.
Yep, totally with you.
Totally with you on that one, yeah, fully. Jesus. So you've done a lot of your research basically like in hospital while you were sort of recovering then?
Yeah. So I had a carotid artery tear, and only 1 or 2% of people have that. And they don't actually know why I had the tear. I've been in many car accidents, unfortunately, and maybe that was it, but they couldn't really tell.
Right.
So it could be anything.
Again, scary.
Yeah, a lot.
Just the idea.
The concept of having a lot of car crashes also doesn't.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Like really bad car crashes, like, or just enough to like jerk your neck or something like that.
Well, there were some pretty. So, first of all, I was in the car accident as a passenger rather than a driver.
Right. Okay.
But there was one that was pretty bad. But that was several years ago, and I don't know if that was what caused my stroke or not. Anyway.
Again, the fact it's
I think that might even be scarier.
the fact it's creeped up.
Yeah, the fact that you possibly had a car accident, and then what did you say? 4 years later.
Yeah, many years later you can have a stroke.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's true or not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. So let's go back a bit. So you had that sore head. Is a stroke just a single point in time, or that entire time where you're consistently having a stroke? Because I don't really know what a stroke is.
Okay, so there are essentially two types of stroke. One is caused by a blood clot in your brain, and the other is a hemorrhagic stroke, which means that you have a brain bleed. 17% of people are the ones that have a brain bleed. I had a clot.
Okay.
So my carotid artery tore off, and a bit of blood collected there and formed a clot, and then it broke free and came into my brain.
Oh.
Every minute that somebody is having a stroke, they lose 1.9 million brain cells.
Jesus.
So, yeah. So if you think about it, I have no idea how long I was having the stroke, but it's the size of, I'd say, a walnut inside my head that is gone. And
that's unrecoverable.
I found that out. That's unrecoverable, yeah.
Yeah. Mad.
So, and you go.
No, go ahead.
So we know someone who's had a stroke. Actually, we think her mum had a miniature stroke one night.
I think she said that, like a slight mini one.
But she didn't need the hospital to recover or anything. She was just sort of a bit...
docile for a week.
Yeah, a bit confused, a bit slurring her words and things. And it was afterwards that the doctor assumed that it was a mini stroke. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure how that works. But she seemed fine afterwards. But we know someone who's had a full-on stroke and he now can't speak. I'm only 27 and I don't think I remember him being able to speak ever.
No, I've never seen him before the stroke.
So I don't know when he had the stroke, but he could only say two things. One is the word fuck, and one is the word kin, which is a Scottish term, which means do you know? Which is like a weird two things to be able to say. So every time he has a conversation, he's saying, I imagine he thinks he's saying words, or does he? Do you think he knows?
I think so.
Yeah, I think he knows. So I think he's probably got aphasia, which is a speaking disorder. And that is really strange because you have different types of aphasia. So he is probably fluent, which means he speaks, but he can't, his speech is incomprehensible.
Yeah.
I had a different type of aphasia. Okay. So my aphasia meant that people could talk to me and I couldn't talk to them. I understood them, but I couldn't speak. Mm-hmm. Here's the interesting thing. The American Aphasia Association says that if you're not, I'm going to say cured with air quotes, in the first 3 months of having it, you're probably going to have it for life.
Right.
Well, I obviously don't have it anymore. Mm-hmm. And that is because 3.5 years after my stroke, I saw a doctor who said, you should really try neurofeedback. And I didn't know what neurofeedback was. So I went home and I went online and I did some research. And essentially, it's a little box with electrodes that go to your head. And it's connected to the computer. And it pulses your head with little, I think they say it's like 1/100th of a AAA battery. That's all the energy it's got. And it pulses your head. And it actually worked for me, right? So I went into this doctor's office and put this thing on my head and I felt nothing. as it was working, but I could see my brainwaves going across the screen. And afterwards, I could actually speak a little better. After 16 sessions, I could speak like I do now. It is amazing.
Okay. So, would you say now that you're speaking as you were before you had the stroke?
Almost, yeah, I would.
Okay, that's great then.
Mm-hmm.
And this was...
Yeah.
So did you say that you went 3.5 years without being able to speak?
I could speak some, so I could speak short sentences sometimes.
Okay.
I could speak nothing sometimes. It really all depended on the situation. So if I was talking to a stranger, I might not talk at all. If I was talking to my husband, I would say a few words.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It was weird.
So I presume that you were considered one of the people that weren't cured of aphasia within the first 3 months.
I had aphasia for 3.5 years.
Right.
So I think that people need to be aware that there are many things out there that when they are in trouble like I was, they should continue to go out and see if there is something out there that is not, like neurofeedback is not well known around here.
Mm-hmm.
And until I ran across a doctor who actually had it, I wouldn't have known that that was available for me to try. I think that's the important thing, is that if you have a problem, you need to try. You need to not give up.
Definitely. Just to go back to the guy we were speaking about a few minutes ago, he used to get to the point of like he was being annoyed by like friends and stuff. The one time I heard him say 2 different words that I'd heard from all his life was the words "shut up," and he said it really quickly, and it's like the clearest thing I'd ever heard from him, and it was because his friend kept tickling him and annoying him.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if that like affects stroke victims. Like they have to get like real annoyed or really to the point of like where they really need to like rage or like something, like they really need to say something, and then they're able to just do that. But it takes all that time.
I think everyone is different. So the more as frustrated I became, the less able to say something. I mean, I would get really furious, and I would not be able to say anything. So it really depends upon the stroke.
I can imagine that would make it worse as well.
Again, running a marketing business as well. What happened with your business? Like, obviously, immediately that was like, did you have to leave someone to run it, or like, so what happened?
It closed down the day I had a stroke.
The day off.
It was just done.
Mm-hmm. So, have you been able to pick that back up since then?
So I thought I would get a job. The problem is, you have to talk in order to get a job.
Yes, there is that. Yeah.
Downsides.
So the phone would ring. I'd pick it up. I'd say my name. They'd say the first question. And I would not have anything I could answer. Like nothing.
So this is at the point before you done the neuro feedback.
Neurofeedback.
Okay, right.
So I wrote a book, and I thought I would get it out there, and I would actually speak about my book. And I actually find it quite interesting because I wrote the book, I published it, I got it out there. It probably took about 9 months of looking at it on my shelf before I actually realized, yes, I actually did this. Like, it's out there, I see it, and I didn't really believe I'd done it. Because I guess No. Go ahead.
That's all right. I was just going to say, was writing also an issue after the stroke?
Oh my God, yes.
Right.
So when I started typing, I could write 2 paragraphs a day.
Yeah.
And the problem is that with aphasia, at least for me, I didn't remember how to spell words.
Right, okay.
When I finally thought of the word I wanted to use, I would type it in. But my right hand didn't type very well. And so I usually typed it in, it was wrong. I'd have to backspace and retype it, and it was wrong, so I'd retype it. So it took me all day to write 2 paragraphs.
Right.
So it took me 4.5 years to write and publish the book.
Damn.
Long time.
Yeah.
I could not. I don't have the patience for that.
Well, naturally, without strokes, we don't have the patience anyway for going through that. So for you to sit through that and it just sounds mad.
But it's the concept of, you said 1.1 billion brain cells every minute, you said, right? Is that right?
1.9 million.
1.9 million, okay, right. 1.9 million brain cells every minute you're having a stroke. You don't know how many minutes you've had the stroke, but that's still a lot of brain cells to lose. And so there's going to be brain function lost in a lot of different areas, I would imagine. And then to have struggling with spelling and then physically doing things like typing and then not being able to think clearly, I cannot comprehend that situation. I don't think I would be able to cope with that situation in the slightest. How difficult was that?
I had to think about what my life was rather than what it had been. And so I've actually had a pretty positive attitude most of the time. Thinking about, okay, so if I had a stroke on this day, a year from that day, I'm going to run a marathon. That's what I thought.
That would
I'm going to run a 5K. But that made me get up and out of the bed and work really hard to get better. Now, I didn't run a marathon on my first anniversary. I didn't run it on my second. I didn't run it on my third. I'm not running anymore, but that at least gave me the courage to get up and try every single day. And a lot of things don't go well when you've had a stroke. So maybe you fall down. You have to get back up. Maybe you don't comb your hair well. Well, you know what? You just think, I've got to go out in public. I know my hair looks really funky. I guess people are just going to have to see me the way I am. And it takes a lot of the pressure away from you if you're thinking, you know what, this is all they get. And if they don't like it, they can look the other way.
Yeah.
But this is it.
My suggestion is to wear a hat. Wearing hats is the best thing I've ever invented. And
What?
I love
Wait.
it so much.
You didn't invent wearing hats.
Well,
Let's stop
beg to
that
differ.
for a start.
Agree to disagree. But yeah, I think in that situation, I would wear a hat just to give myself less things to think about.
Is that so you could... Oh, no, for the hair. I thought you meant for, ducking away if people...
No, for the hair.
Right.
Yeah.
Take simple advice there. Right. So, on you go, Craig.
So, can we go in a little bit into the medical system? Because we spoke about this briefly in the emails. Because you were listening to the epidemiologist podcast, and you also brought up something to do with differences in healthcare. So, living in the UK, if I had a stroke, first of all, the ambulance would be free. I would be taken into the hospital when that would be free. and then however many tests and treatments and stuff, the overnight stays, I would go home and I wouldn't need to worry about finances. I wouldn't need to worry about a bill coming through my door and then monthly fees for the rest of my life. Or I don't really know how the system works in the US, but it's something like that, I imagine. That couldn't have made it easy, surely.
So I would say that my husband and I are pretty well off because he's got an insurance policy that covered most of it.
Okay.
And so we didn't have to worry about money.
Right.
Most people, I think, would probably have to worry about what their insurance company really covered.
Yeah.
But we didn't. So that's one thing I'm very grateful for.
So what about the neurofeedback? Did it cover that as well?
No, that we have to pay for ourselves.
Yeah.
So it's about 16 sessions. It's about $100 a session. So that's $1,600 that we put out of pocket.
I mean,
there. Oh,
it's all right. On you go.
Go ahead. So I think that the American healthcare system has got things screwed up. So
Absolutely.
if neurofeedback is helpful, then it should be at the front of the help that you get. So maybe 3 to 6 months after you've had your stroke, that should be something that is offered to people.
Yeah.
Right. But it's not. I also get laser therapy on my head. I tried laser therapy first because I thought it may treat my aphasia, and it did make my aphasia somewhat less than it was.
Yeah.
And I still go back for laser therapy because it is actually treating me for Alzheimer's.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
So now that I've had a brain injury, I'm 25% more likely to have Alzheimer's. So I think if there's anything that I can do, I should, just in case.
Yeah.
Maybe I will get lucky and it will make my brain more functional than it is.
So you don't have Alzheimer's, you're just
No,
Predisposed to it, so-
I'm just trying to keep it at bay.
Right, okay.
You know, because
It's a good plan.
you never know who's going to get Alzheimer's and who isn't.
And that's another scary disease as well, Alzheimer's.
Definitely. So
I'm scared of pretty much everything. I'm
yeah.
a massive hypochondriac, so that doesn't help things. But so this has been great for my anxiety.
Oh yeah. Aye. What about your problems, Craig?
Yeah, that sounded very selfish. I
It
apologise.
certainly did. Yes. So what was it called? The neural
Feedback.
Neural feedback. So
Neurofeedback. So it's the one I used was called microcurrent neurofeedback, and that's the website that's called microcurrentneurofeedback.com. If anyone is interested in finding more out.
So there's more than one then?
Yes,
Okay.
and is this
there is.
is this like
I'm sorry.
is this a run through the medical system, or is this like a different
An experimental
an experimental thing?
alternative or...
So it's been around for more than 15 years, and it is run through the medical system. You just have to know where to find it.
Right. Okay. So it's like being tested by being scientifically tested and stuff, and peer reviewed.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's in fact, it's interesting because he has a test that I've actually gotten to see what the test was and the results were of the test. It's fascinating. I actually talked to the person who, I think he designed it. And it's fascinating because here's this little, it looks like a box about the size of 2 cell phones. And I can't imagine even coming up with, I mean, how do they think of that?
Yeah.
Oh, if we put a shock there,
Yeah.
maybe we'll get her brain working better. Who thought of that?
They're like a jump start for a car.
Sounds like
But you know what? That's exactly like it is.
That's an insane concept.
it's
I
just
love
a
that.
just a tiny motor in a box that just goes like that, and then,
Is that kind of like turning it off and back on again? Like something,
like the computer.
yeah, something resets and the brain just goes, oh, found it again. And then
That's exactly what it is.
that's crazy.
That is amazing. I'm looking at an article right now. Brain influences itself with its own electric field. Just the fact you could just shock the brain and it goes, oh,
Well, they've got electric shock therapy for depression as well. So electric shock therapy seems to be something that's gaining in acceptance and popularity. And even we're going into areas where we might get a lot of trouble. But even Elon Musk's been talking about a chip that he's creating in one of his companies, one of the 3 million companies that he owns, where they are going to be dealing with things like dementia and pretty much anything that's in the brain. And he's hoping that's going to be coming soon. But soon in technical terms is like 20 years. But the things he's been talking about is quite fascinating. But there does seem to be a lot in electrocuting people's brains, as crazy as that is.
Yeah.
So you said there was multiple types of neurofeedback, and you got one of them. What does that mean? Does that mean there's different techniques on how to electrocute the brain?
Yeah. So the one I had, I actually sat and did nothing. Right.
Yeah.
So it just pulsed in my brain. There are other kinds, and I haven't tried any, so I don't know really what it's like, but you look at your computer screen and you try to make it more, maybe it's looking at the level of the light. So maybe you want to make the screen brighter. Maybe you want to make a small ball move in a certain way. So I don't know what that's like because I haven't ever tried it.
Yeah.
But I will tell you that microcurrent neurofeedback for me was amazing.
I've just seen here the success rate for these treatments is between 75 to 80%, which is pretty huge.
That's good. That is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty.
And the price, when you
So-
told us the price, I expected
based on like
so much worse.
based on pharmaceutical companies and stuff, when you see like the bills people get for pills,
Yeah.
like I was expecting like thousands per time you went in, but like when you said 100, I was like, wow,
Yeah.
like
That's. I never thought I'd say this.
I think it's,
Seems reasonable.
yeah, I'm actually thinking it's reasonable too. So if I think about it cost me $1,600 to speak normally again, I would pay that in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Especially when you think that like laser surgery on the eyes is like $400 per eye.
was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They also go towards treating ADHD and stuff with this as well, which is cool.
Yeah. Is it in the UK? Is there things in the UK?
There is. It's called EEG over here. I've had one years ago, which I've just found it here.
Was that for Perthes disease
It was for Tourette syndrome.
or Tourette syndrome?
They tested originally for epilepsy, but they found out I had Tourette syndrome because of the EEG.
Right.
So it is available on the NHS. Thank God I checked. Because so I've actually had one of these before.
Is that why you can speak?
That's why I can speak perfectly.
Right, okay.
It's,
Is that why you don't have tics and stuff?
No, I don't have tics because I don't have like quite the extreme version of Tourette's. It's just a wee bit throat clearing and sort of nudging,
Right, okay.
like
Shite Tourette's.
yeah, the most boring one,
Yes.
basically for people that enjoy comedy value.
Yes.
From that. So
So you have a book. Let's get back onto the serious topic. Tell us about your book.
So The name of the book is Stroke Forward. How to become your own healthcare advocate, one step at a time. And I wrote the book mostly in the beginning because I needed to heal myself.
Makes sense.
But it's really about the nitty gritty about what it's like for me to have a stroke. Everybody's stroke is different.
Yeah.
But I want people to know that it can be really hard. And you can still work through the stroke and become more mobile, right? It's also for the caretakers because my husband and my sister wrote parts of it.
Okay.
And so I had one thing that I wanted to say, but my husband was also there and he had a total different take on what happened. So he had his thing to say. And I think it's really important to understand that the stroke is different for different people. So it's different for my husband, it's different for my friends, it's different for my sister. So they all talk about the stroke from their perspective. And finally, I think that it's for the advocate, a few things that they think about in order to, if they're caring for a person, if they're going to care for a person, there are things to think about that maybe they didn't know.
Mm-hmm. So we are getting this book. I don't know when I'm getting the book.
Yeah,
it's being sent from. What
weird...
state are you in?
Virginia.
Virginia. Is that further away than Michigan?
No, it's closer.
Oh, is it closer? Well, it might be 2.5 weeks.
Yeah.
So the package from Michigan you sent it yesterday?
Yesterday, yeah.
Yeah. So I sent it yesterday, so I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
It's certainly because it's so close to Christmas, and it's an
Yeah.
American delivery, and we're still in sort of COVID times. I think it's
some states in the US are starting to close down a bit more now as well. Yeah. How is it in Virginia? Are you safe and well? How are you doing?
Well, I look at the COVID numbers every day, and I'm a little nervous.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So we stay home except for we get groceries and we go to the post office, and that's about it for us.
Yeah,
How about for you?
Well, that was us as well until we caught it getting cheese.
Love you prefaced that with that was us at one point.
Yeah, that was it. We're immune now. We're just running about licking people and stuff. That's our life now. Yeah. That's a joke. Don't go out and do that. But yeah,
I love when people bring that up. It's like we licked people before. I don't.
Yeah.
I gave that up a long time ago.
Yeah.
The licking of the people.
So yeah, that's pretty. To be fair, we're quite rural, so I think part of the issue with us is that because we were so rural, as much as we were taking it seriously, we did kind of lapse occasionally because we were so rural. We assumed it wasn't really going to hit here because people are more spread out naturally, and we just, I guess, let our guard down one day. Maybe didn't sanitize our hands after getting back in the car, or stood a bit close to somebody. I don't know what happened, but there was a lapse in something, and just unluckily we got it.
But to a lot lesser degree than like what most.
Yes, I mean we've got friends in a community group that we're in that was unlucky enough to get the pneumonia from COVID, so they're in a much worse situation than we are. Again, being young, we got quite lucky. Yeah, it's a scary time. It's a scary time for a lot of people, and
yeah. Well, you don't know. I mean, it's just like stroke. It could happen to anyone at any time.
Yeah.
And you can't. I guess I'm really disappointed by all the people that are going out there and saying, like the naysayers, we're not having a pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I wish you would stay home.
Yeah.
I wish you would take care of yourself.
Yeah. Again,
Please.
it's those people that are like, I seen somebody complaining today that, God, how long is this going to take? Like, because something to do with schools and stuff like that. Some of the kids have been sent home because they're having to start self-isolating now, which means by Christmas Day, I think it's the day after Boxing Day, that they're available to actually go outside and stuff. So
because it's 10 days from when symptoms start.
Exactly, aye.
Yeah.
So they were complaining that, this is taking so long. But it's the kind of people that are going out and just, with complete disregard to everybody else, that are keeping this going. But not enough people are moaning at them. I feel.
Yeah.
We're just sort of allowing them to do their thing, and it's really irritating. So yes. So
before we go, can you quickly give a rundown of things to look for in a stroke? Just basically for my ease of mind. This is a very selfish question. As I say, I am a hypochondriac. If you could give me the lowdown on what to look for, I would be very much grateful.
Okay. So be fast. B stands for balance. Are you leaning to one side or another? E is eyes. So if one eye or both eyes are funny, you should think of stroke. F is for face. If your face is drooping, that's a big sign. A is for arm or leg. Again, it's like balance. So if you're having trouble lifting one, maybe you're having a stroke.
Okay.
S is for slurred speech, and T is for time. It's time to call 911.
Okay. So I would imagine it will be a few of those things. It won't just be the one.
If you see one, you should probably call 911.
Oh, right, okay. Right.
Oh, don't tell him that.
I'm going to be on him.
He'll wake up with funny eyes one morning, and that'll be him.
Yeah, I've got them on speed dial. I'm ready to go. I'm fine.
I think you're just going to wake up and go to the last one just to call 911
Well, sometimes
straight away.
sometimes I wake up and I've got I've got double vision in one eye, but it only happens. It happens on the days when I've not had enough sleep. I don't know what causes it.
Interesting.
But that scares me. Every time I wake up with that, I'm like, oh no, what's happened? This is the end.
This is the end. Oh my God. Okay, so that's fantastic.
Should have seen the statement when I got COVID. Oh God. Terror.
Anyway, so thank you, Marcia, very much for joining us. It's been much appreciated.
Thank you very much as well.
No problem.
When we get the book, we will post on Facebook sort of explaining what the book is, and we'll give it a read and we'll say a few words about it. That'll be after we've sent you a message saying it's here, so that you get a proper timing of when it gets here. And
we'll let you know for sure.
And then
thank you very much.
That'll be that. So thank you very much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me, and it's been a pleasure.
Is there anything else you would like to say before you go? Anything else you'd like to plug? You got a website or anything?
So my website is strokeforward.com. You can find me. My book is on Amazon. And I tell everybody that when you've had a stroke, don't give up.